Wanda, we talked about this. Put it back. You have no children. There's no one in this room but you and me. Put the world back now. Put it back. Today on the Comic Book Report, the House of M Omnibus from Marvel Comics. Stick around and check it out. Greetings all, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning into the Comic Book Report where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I get to talk to you all about one of my favorite Marvel events of all time. That's right, we're talking about House of M Omnibus. And if you're looking to pick up your own copy or other comic book collected editions, check out our channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. Use my code, TheComicBookReport, at checkout for $2 off of your order today. Using my affiliate code or links will give me a small commission, but it's a great way to support the channel at no additional cost to you. Thank you for considering. Now let's get started with today's review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Brian Michael Bendis and others, and illustrated by Olivier Copel and others. The issues in this volume were published by Marvel Comics beginning in 2005. This volume collects House of M issues 1 through 8, Spider-Man House of M issues 1 through 5, Fantastic Four House of M issues 1 through 3, Iron Man House of M issues 1 through 3, New Thunderbolts 11, Black Panther 7, Uncanny X-Men 462 through 465, Wolverine issues 33 through 35, Captain America issue 10, Pulse issue 10, Cable and Deadpool issue 17, Incredible Hulk 83 through 87, New X-Men 16 through 19, Exiles issues 69 through 71, Mutopia issues 1 through 5, Decimation House of M the Day After, Giant Size Miss Marvel number 1, Secrets of the House of M, Pulse House of M Special, House of M number 1 Director's Cut, House of M Sketchbook, and materials from Hulk Broken World Book 1. And finally, this oversized hardcover comes in at 1,368 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at that House of M Omnibus now. I have to say, I love this red. All the red throughout this dust jacket is absolutely stunning. I will say this is the standard edition cover. I will throw up a picture of the direct market cover they offer for this book as well for you to compare. The standard edition I have here has Magneto on the spine. For the direct market cover, I believe it is a picture of Professor Charles Xavier. Either way, we have that great House of M stylized font and logo, a really nice touch, and a beautiful spine. The back cover of the dust jacket, of course, has that image of the pixelated Wanda. This is one of my favorite images of the Scarlet Witch, certainly one of the most memorable and evocative images from this House of M era. Very, very stunning. I'm so happy to see it grace the dust jacket, a very nice touch. And now I'd like to go ahead and remove the dust jacket on my omnibus edition here so you can get one final look at this incredible dust jacket, the artwork, you can see the inner panels, and overall just see what this dust jacket really looks like. After that, we'll transition into taking a quick look at the under the dust jacket artwork for this edition. My understanding is that the under the dust jacket art is the same for both the direct market and the standard edition, and I really like what they chose to do here. We got another just solid red design, very striking. Let me see if I can get you a good look without the glare. So this is red with kind of some black inked images on the under the dust jacket art here. So this is the entire House of Magnus, Magneto's family. They're sort of the ruling dynasty within the House of M universe. I'll get to that in a little bit. But they're all printed here, each member of the House of M on this under the dust jacket artwork. I think that was a really great call. It has this regal and kind of disturbing feel to it, which I think is another great reflection on the contents within this book. Very well done with that under the dust jacket art. And now we're going to go ahead and transition to a quick look at the binding for this omnibus. At almost 1,400 pages, this omnibus is certainly a big one, and so a lot of you might be concerned, how is the binding? Well, I'm happy to report that the sewn binding on this omnibus was quite sturdy and up to my personal standard of what I like to see in these collections. There's a very nice eye on this guy, so I didn't even find the gutter loss to be anything too severe. A really well put together omnibus. Now that we've finished our look with the exteriors of the book, it's time to dive into the book proper. So this House of M Omnibus is mapped in the only way I think was logical to do this, especially now that I've completed this book and read all the tie-ins. Basically, this book starts off with the 8-issue event House of M. After that, it basically just goes through all of the tie-ins. They kind of come in an order that I'm not really sure how they defined it, as many of these tie-ins can be read standalone within the broader world or universe of the House of M. For the most part, there is not really a reading order for the tie-ins. I think you could kind of read them in any jumble you prefer, other than a couple examples toward the end, like I think having the giant-sized Miss Marvel issue toward the end made a lot of logical sense. Of course, also the Decimation Day After House of M. That, of course, made sense to include toward the back of the collection as well. But overall, I was really happy with this mapping. For those that are maybe unaware, all of the tie-ins are essentially, I would almost consider them like bonus features. They're not really needed to enjoy the House of M event. House of M is a really self-contained event series, meaning that it's not like you have House of M issue 1 and then you spin out into like Hulk issue whatever, and then back to House of M, and then to Spider-Man. Everything is contained within that 8-issue series, and all of these others kind of just serve as little vignettes in the universe of House of M. And I think overall, that is a really effective way to do an event like this. I think if they were to do like a big overarching event where all the tie-ins directly fed into the main event, you would have to have a collection like this omnibus. That would be something similar to what I did when I reviewed X of Swords and the Krakoa kind of Jonathan Hickman era for X-Men. That one, every single issue from all of these different series had just the next piece of the story. I think that could be more frustrating for collectors. So this one, I would say, if you're looking to just read House of M, the event, you could probably get away with just getting the paperback or hardcover. But for fans like me who want to see that oversized hardcover and read everything about this world, this is a must read. This is an absolute have to pick up omnibus. Because I have to say, a lot of the little stories within House of M we see in this omnibus were a ton of fun. They read almost like a what if, because for those that don't know, this House of M universe actually replaced the Marvel 616 universe, so that presumably all the titles during this period were in the House of M at some point, whether they adapted that in these comics and these issues or not. This is similar to what we saw a long time ago with the Age of Apocalypse, where this isn't a parallel universe. This is what happens to the main Marvel 616 universe for a time. And so that's certainly interesting. I really like that idea, and I think it really has really grave and serious repercussions after you read House of M for the whole Marvel Universe. Really ushered in a kind of new era for storytelling, particularly in the X-Men titles. Get into that in a little bit. But I just wanted to provide some of this context so you can understand some of the mapping of this book, as well as kind of what the House of M universe is. It is the Marvel 616 universe, but it's all pulled into kind of an alternate version of its reality. Another thing that should be noted is that there are several authors and illustrators on this book. Bendis and Copel are just the main creative team behind the central House of M event. After that, it's really specific based on a lot of the titles. Like I know Mark Waid was the author behind the Spider-Man House of M issues in here, and so forth. So you definitely do have a medley of different creators, so that if Bendis is maybe not always your style, you have plenty of opportunities to read other authors, or vice versa. I know I'm a huge Bendis fan, and this is one of my favorite events he ever did. Definitely one of my all-time favorite Marvel events, and rereading this for this review, it was absolutely confirmed that this is just an outstanding event. As far as anything you'd need to read prior to House of M, I know Avengers Disassembled is like the heavily recommended reading before this, because that's really what begins to spiral Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, into the state she is at the beginning of this title. I'm sure there's other reading you could do as well to lead into this. I know I actually personally haven't read Avengers Disassembled. I know, I gotta pick up a copy. But I also say that to encourage some of you that I don't think that there's any really necessary reading required before buying this collection. I think it does fill in the gaps nicely. There is some exposition bubbles that also fill in some of the details about Wanda Maximoff's state, and the beginning of House of M definitely covers, what is going on there, and you can really fill in the gaps as needed. So I would say that there's no prerequisite reading that is absolutely required to enjoy this collection, but there's certainly stuff that could provide a greater context and appreciation for the events that transpire here. Now we'll go ahead and segue into the actual story of House of M. House of M, again, picks up shortly after Avengers Disassembled, where my understanding is Scarlet Witch's powers are starting to get stronger and she's starting to lose control, inadvertently leading to the deaths of some of the Avengers. So that when House of M gets started, it basically begins with the X-Men and the New Avengers meeting up to decide the fate of Scarlet Witch, basically trying to decide what are we going to do with her. She's becoming too dangerous. Her powers to control and bend and change reality are rapidly going beyond her control, and she's dangerous to everyone in all life. We might have to do something that would require lethal force. Of course, this meeting with both the X-Men and the Avengers is very polarized. We have some people ready to pull the trigger, so to speak, and neutralize the problem, that being Scarlet Witch, and others that are like, hey, we're the good guys. We absolutely cannot pursue that option. No way. We have a really dramatic scene and interchange between Magneto and Quicksilver, father-son, discussing the fate of the daughter-sister, of course, and it's just all really tense, really sad, and ultimately it leads to a team of these X-Men Avengers going to find Wanda and figure out what they need to do to stop her, to address what's happening, and as they make their way to her, everything flashes white, and the next thing we know, the Marvel Universe has become the House of M. Now, House of M is short for the House of Magnus, Magneto's family, so we have like Magneto, the Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Polaris, and some miscellany there, but they basically are in this world where Magneto fought this war against the Sentinels and won, and basically became this mutant, liberator, and hero, and so now the present-day Marvel Universe within the House of M, it's a situation where mutants' populations have swelled, and they're in a place of complete dominance and leadership in the world. Humanity is dwindling and kind of becoming a relic on the verge of extinction. They are now the lower class, the secondary citizens, and everyone is sort of this mutant elite, and that's kind of the trend leading to the future. Ruling over basically the entire world is the House of Magnus, helmed by, of course, Magneto. And in this world, everyone that's human is basically secondary, and we have kind of the leftover band of heroes that are non-mutant characters, sort of being like the resistance fighters. But part of the novelty of the House of M is no one seems to be aware that the world wasn't like this before. No one knows that anything is amiss. So we have some of these hero characters that have become these vigilante, ragtag resistance groups to the House of M, and then we have various heroes that are no longer heroes. They're just citizens, or maybe they work in the House of M, or what have you. But no one appears to be aware of the fact that this world is not what it was. Another thing within House of M that should be noted is that it appears to be based on some of the desires of some of Wanda's friends. We have Magneto's dream fulfilled, mutant superiority, the brimming to the just fullest potential of mutant populations and power and destiny. And we have people like Peter Parker, Spider-Man, who in this world, he is one of the world's most premier superheroes, beloved by all, and he's married with a child. He's married to Gwen Stacy, who was long lost to him. He also still has Uncle Ben and Aunt May in his life and is kind of living his best life, but he is masquerading as a mutant hero, not a human hero. This is just one example. In this world as well, Steve Rogers is an old man who presumably never got the super soldier serum and was able to be a hero in his own right and just kind of live out his days as a normal man. There are plenty of little wrinkles and details like this within the world of House of M that I found very fascinating. We have kind of this wish fulfillment idea for a lot of these characters within this universe. But at any rate, no one seems to know that this world wasn't always like this. That is until Wolverine, whose fondest wish was that he could have all of his memories back. After being mind wiped so many times and having memory manipulation and so much shadowed history about his life, we find that Wolverine now not only remembers his entire life history, but he also remembers a world that wasn't this one. So Wolverine's kind of the first that seems to remember that everything is not as it should be. In this world of House of M, he's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that's in a romantic relationship with Mystique, but once he remembers, he basically jumps off of a helicarrier and tries to figure out what the heck is going on. From there, he basically teams up with this ragtag group of underground heroes like Luke Cage and some other miscellaneous heroes. They kind of find this mutant child, Layla Miller, who is the only other person that seems to know what life was like before. Her mutant ability is sort of this weird gift, at least we're led to believe within this book, is kind of like she can kind of explain how things were, and it kind of opens the eyes of people and gives them understanding. And so she does this with Luke Cage. They decide to bring the Layla Miller to Emma Frost, who's this powerful telepath. She's at this time living a kind of dream life with Scott Summers' Cyclops. Basically, she has her eyes opened, can't believe it, and then through Layla Miller's power with Emma Frost's telepathy, they kind of go about and gather all of the remaining heroes that are in kind of the Avengers and the X-Men to try to come back together and figure out what happened, believing that Magneto abused the situation with Scarlet Witch to gain just complete control of this universe, and they want to stop him. Of course, they leave Captain America alone, since he seems to be this old man who probably couldn't participate much in the fighting. From that point, they basically try to figure out what happened to Professor X, who has clearly gone missing. They're trying to find ways to get to Magneto and to stop him and to basically fix the world. I'm going over this really fast, but there's definitely a lot of nuance here. Like I said, the story with Spider-Man in particular, going from just kind of high on life with this gorgeous first love of your life, a son and, dead relatives back to life, to go from that to knowing you're kind of this hated, scruffy kind of hero that's trying to do the best he can, married to someone else, having all those conflicting loves and emotions and having so much taken away from you. He is like emotionally shattered, and there's many heroes that are in that same position, feeling manipulated and beyond troubled at the state of this. So there's really a sense of stakes here, really a sense of momentum and trying to solve what's going on. Ultimately, they basically take the fight to Magneto in his capital during like some kind of gala or festival. They try to break into different strike teams, trying to figure out how to basically undo the House of M universe. There's one group of people trying to find Professor X, only to discover he's been dead in this universe. And there's another one with Doctor Strange, who tries to go straight to Wanda to talk to her and to figure things out. And then the rest of them that are basically trying to storm the castle and stop Magneto and Quicksilver and the rest of the House of Magnus. In the climax of the story, we basically come to realize that it was in fact not Magneto who manipulated this situation, but actually Quicksilver, Pietro Maximoff, trying to save his beloved Wanda. He kind of helps manipulate her and guide her to use her powers to basically create this whole world where mutants are superior, hoping to avoid all the tragedy that's about to befall their family. So Magneto similarly had no idea this was happening. He is furious when he understands what has happened and what Quicksilver has done, and basically this all culminates with Wanda uttering 3 little words that have become infamous and incredible when thinking about House of M. Those words, of course, are "No more mutants." And with that, the sky turns white again, and we're back to the regular universe. Only this time, most of the world's mutant population has been turned back to human, seemingly at random, with no explanation. We know that this era is sort of a huge culling for the mutant population. They are now beyond an endangered species on the verge of extinction, with only a few mutants left. Very few people seem to have memories of the House of M universe, almost as if nothing ever happened other than what's going on with the dwindling mutant population. And it's really kind of sad, though, because there are a few that do have memories of it, like Wolverine and Spider-Man, and these people that really just understand the tragedy of what happened to them and how they now fit back into their normal lives. It's just really gripping. And of course, this really sets the stage for what happens post House of M to all the mutants and X-Men books, because now mutants are back to being the underclass and they're almost extinct. We even have notable mutants that no longer have their powers, like Quicksilver and Magneto, and even notable X-Men like Iceman. It is certainly a very upsetting new status quo. From this era, we also find out that new mutants aren't really being born or presenting themselves for quite a while. This leads into the whole Messiah complex, Messiah war, all those like kind of era of X-Men. Really hoping to see those in an omnibus someday, because this next era for the mutants is definitely pretty interesting from what I've read. But again, that's basically the story of House of M with this bird's eye overview, an amazing story that can be read standalone, but also accompanied by this whole omnibus. It's a really big treat. Now, after the House of M story proper, we go into all of the different spin-offs, and there's so many that I don't think I'm going to touch on all of them. A couple notable ones to me: I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, and I think the way they treated Peter Parker in the House of M, I was really eager to read his tie-in issues, and then I found out they were written by Mark Waid, and I was even more excited. But funnily enough, this Spider-Man House of M story feels very detached from the Peter Parker we get in House of M. This Spider-Man is sort of this troubled man who is kind of getting pulled into some crime. We find out he has almost a break with reality, where he's also masquerading as the Green Goblin, trying to sabotage his own life. We don't really know if he's totally aware of that, though. He's kind of unwinding and mentally losing it. Somehow that story has a full arc, though, that leads to his sort of redemption, peace, happy ending at the resolution of those issues. I think what's most interesting is that the issues feel very standalone as a weird what-if parallel universe story for Spider-Man, but they don't even really feel like the Spider-Man we saw in House of M in those images before he had his memories restored. So it just feels really out of place. It also leads you to think, like, when could this story have taken place? Because Peter seems to have had a happy ending, but we knew that that happy ending was interrupted by what happened in House of M. So I don't know where the continuity stands with some of the tie-ins. It almost feels like it's not even consistent within its own House of M universe. But I think if you read them like fun little vignettes or stories in this broader universe, they can still be a lot of fun to read. I know one particular story arc that I found to be fascinating was the Hulk story. In this House of M universe, he finds himself in like Australia, I think, and he joins this kind of aboriginal tribe and becomes sort of a member of this society, only to have S.H.I.E.L.D. and some other arms of the House of M basically try to attack him, and of course he hulks out. This is kind of a political intrigue, interesting sort of story arc, but they were actually a lot of fun. Another story arc that was definitely interesting was the House of M Fantastic Four. In House of M, it's basically revealed that everyone on the initial Fantastic Four voyage that had the Fantastic Four like exposed to cosmic rays, giving them their powers, all of them died except for the Thing. And in the House of M universe, basically Dr. Doom, his wife and son, he experimented and exposed them, giving them powers, becoming this kind of frightful four, and the fourth member being the Thing, who is called something else in the House of M universe. And it's basically about Dr. Doom and his family kind of being their version of the Fantastic Four, being this kind of hero team for Latveria and all of his personal interests. But this story is also really an exploration of how Dr. Doom does as sort of second rung on the ladder under House of M, under Magneto. And basically the whole time he's trying to figure out how to topple Magneto and have Doom reign supreme. Things don't really go as planned, but it was a really fun miniseries. Some of my favorite tie-in issues in the whole collection. The giant-sized Miss Marvel towards the end was also really fun. We have Carol Danvers in this universe being the world's biggest superhero. And so what does that look like when Miss Marvel is at the top, where she's reached the full heights of her powers? It was a really fun issue, but I think one of my favorite parts was at the end of the issue when she wakes up after House of M. She leaves kind of encouraged because she almost feels like not like she's not the best here, but what is stopping her? Now that she's seen her potential, the sky's kind of the limit for Miss Marvel. And I thought that was really cool. It was a really fun issue. A couple of the issues didn't really land for me, like Thunderbolts. I was really lost. I don't know a ton of those characters, so I felt a little bit thrown. There were a couple of the X books as well that I was a little jumping into the middle of something bigger, it felt like. But some of the X books were really great. I really loved what I read with Captain Britain and Psylocke and some of those X-Men. There were some really great stories tying into what Captain Britain did with Otherworld during House of M and how close the universe got to complete destruction. And I thought that those were really great tie-ins. The Wolverine issues were also definitely interesting. I think with Spider-Man and Wolverine being some of the most interesting characters during House of M, I kind of hoped that their tie-ins would be as interesting, but I realized that most of the things that made them compelling were kind of all talked about within the House of M story. The same is true for Wolverine. His story is kind of about his relationship with Mystique and going on these kind of guerrilla tactic missions, kind of defecting from S.H.I.E.L.D. and wanting more out of the hunt and out of life. And it was still a great story. In some ways, I preferred it to the Spider-Man story. But again, I think some of the stuff that made Wolverine's story within House of M so interesting was how he grappled with all the memories. And you get the feeling that he doesn't really have that same conflict in these House of M issues. It's more of just like a fun one-off story. I think in some ways, I really liked the way those issues explored the relationship between Mystique and Wolverine, maybe more than anything else in the issues themselves. But really some fun tie-ins as well. One of the most notable inclusions to me in this omnibus is the Decimation House of M the day after. This is really an epilogue to House of M, and it kind of ushers in what's next for the Marvel Universe, and particularly our merry band of mutants. And I thought that this was a really good cap on the series. I know obviously all of these titles spin out after House of M, and so there's so much lore and comic book mythology after this point that's really great, especially with the mutant books. But I like that we got Decimation the day after included in this, because again, it kind of sets the stage for the new status quo, and it's really nice to see kind of what immediately follows in the Marvel Universe after the events of House of M issue 8. Another interesting inclusion is the Pulse issue. It's kind of this look at a reporter and Hawkeye, because what's interesting too is Hawkeye is dead in the mainstream Marvel universe, and in House of Magnus he is alive, but when he gets his memories restored and kind of realizing, oh shoot, like I died, what the heck, it really screws with him. And even when you get back from House of M, there's kind of these inklings of, is Hawkeye even really dead? That was certainly fascinating, and to have this Pulse issue where he kind of talks to a reporter about the world not being what it seems, I think it added to kind of the mystery and kind of the conspiracy of the House of M. I thought it was a really spectacular issue and really added a lot of depth to this universe for me. The 5-issue Mutopia series was also really fascinating. I knew nothing about this, but apparently Mutopia is like a city capital for a lot of the mutants, and kind of what happens within Mutopia. We follow some kind of beat cops basically during the House of M. There's a lot of drama, a lot of hardship, a lot of just, it kind of reads like a crime thriller procedural. But I thought that that was really fun, especially not knowing or being overly interested in some of the main characters in that series. I was still definitely intrigued. I also like the Exile issues. Exiles are a team of sort of universe-hopping mutants, and so having them hop into the House of M 616 universe, it was a really fun couple of issues where basically they realized, hey, this is one of the characters' home dimensions, but it's all screwed up. What happened? What can we do? So like I said, there's really a lot for everyone. I'm really curious what this was like for people collecting like single-issue comic books around the House of M. Did you read any of these titles and all of a sudden you're tied into this event? What was that like for you? If you're watching, let me know in the comments what you thought. I can only imagine like what this did to disrupt your normal just comic book runs you were collecting month to month. I think someone who's just really reading this event omnibus, I was tickled to read all of these other little tie-in issues and kind of standalone stories. Very fun stuff. Like I said, overall, I really liked it. We also have a Cable and Deadpool issue. That is a really underrated series for me. I love it. I know they're coming out with an omnibus. I would love a chance to get that later this year. But the tie-in issue for that, basically Cable and Deadpool show up in House of M, and hijinks ensue with them and Mr. Sinister. It's only one issue, but it's pretty fun. I remember when I read Cable and Deadpool, you don't feel as alienated by that issue, and it really works with everything else they're doing in that run at the time. It's such a wild story, and I love to revisit that world within this omnibus, reading that issue. And now that I've just touched on a couple of my favorites as far as the contents go, let's go ahead and talk about the art in the collection. The art by Copel for the main House of M is just gorgeous. I think some of the character models are absolutely stunning. It's really highly detailed, gorgeously colored, and really well reproduced for this reprint. I loved having it in oversized artwork. Some of the other art is kind of hit and miss. It just depends on what stories you go and what kind of your flavor is. Wasn't a fan of the art and things like the Thunderbolts, but I thought that the Spider-Man story was really stylized and interesting. I think overall the art was really more hit than miss for me. I think the artists attached to a lot of these series did a profoundly great job. I wouldn't necessarily go as far to say there's an artistic uniformity, but I think that there are some similarities in styles. All of these artists obviously doing this around the early to mid-aughts in the 2000s, so there is some artistic similarity, so you don't feel always too thrown off by some of the art you see in this collection, but there's enough variety that you can kind of enjoy a little bit for everyone. That actually reminds me, I forgot to talk about the Iron Man issues. The art for the Iron Man issues is almost like watching an anime. It's really hard to describe, or I guess like reading a manga. No, not even that. It really feels like an anime or like an anime movie. Just a really heavily stylized and polished look. I actually really liked it. Reading Iron Man's exploits, how he teams up with other interesting characters within that universe. Just so many good reads here. But like I said, the art is really consistent and strong throughout. As far as consistent quality, I think that there's way more art that I thought was amazing. Maybe only a few that was maybe not my flavor. Towards the back of this almost 1,400 page omnibus, we're also treated to a ton of extras. We have that issue that's basically like a newspaper within the universe of House of M, have a ton of sketches, some interviews, I believe. We have this whole gallery that goes into the character bios of basically all the main players in House of M, kind of a little bit of their character biography, histories, notable alliances or powers, names, things like that. This is a really cool guidebook and almost reference character guide for this omnibus, especially after you're done reading it. You can kind of map just who are the main players, and it kind of divides it into like the House of Magnus, the mutants, the human characters, S.H.I.E.L.D., and what have you. Really cool edition. Like I said, it reads almost like a character sheet for this whole omnibus to see kind of what the status quo is, who these main players are. Really good stuff. There's a lot of cover art, a lot of just good bonus features at the back. I think with a book this big, I was still really excited to have so many extras at the back. There was a ton to get through and just some fun stuff for fans of House of M. Flipping back, even more extras here. But as we make our way to the end of this just incredibly sized omnibus edition, I think that all that's left to do for the House of M Omnibus is to give it a grade. For an outstandingly creative alternate Earth story featuring some of my all-time favorite Marvel heroes from Avengers, X-Men, and beyond, the Comic Book Report is happy to give the House of M Omnibus an A. Frankly, this is one of my all-time, if not my favorite Marvel event of all time. I think for people that are at least a little bit curious, please pick up that main 8-issue event series, House of M, and decide whether or not this omnibus edition might be for you. I loved reading the main story again. It was almost even better upon reread. And to read all of these other tie-in issues and to see all of these incredible bonus features, artwork, sketches, this was just a real treat. One of my favorite event omnibuses I've read, and one that definitely has my recommendation. Let me know what you think of the House of M in the comments, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel. Have a good one.